This video is entitled Debt, and there's a good reason why I'm making this. What is the Bible position on debt, and why do Christians condone slavery because of debt? Here's the answer. Alright. Christians are supposed to do everything they can to stay out of debt. The reason for this is we do not want people that aren't Christian to think that God can't provide for our needs. Understand that. We as Christians do not want people of other faiths to think that our God can't provide for our needs. And that's why we try to stay out of debt. Now, sometimes Christians get into debt for unforeseen circumstances. This happened in the case of Lot. Job. Remember the book of Job? He didn't ask for his financial problems. It just was an unfortunate circumstance, but then God provided a means to get him out of that. And he'll do the same thing for you. Take a perfect example like this. Jesus was faced with the situation of paying a Roman tax. Peter was panicked about this. Jesus told Peter to go out and fish. Peter fished, caught a fish. Jesus opened up the fish, found a coin, said, now pay the tax with this. So, our God is supposed to provide for all of our needs. Therefore, we don't get into debt. Therefore, we don't get into debtor's prison. Now, what am I talking about in debtor's prison? Well, in the old Roman Empire, they used to have debtor's prisons. And when you accumulated enough debt, you got thrown into debtor's prison. Okay? And this was a big concern for the early Christian church because they did not want their fellowship, they didn't want their Christian brothers and sisters to be tossed into debtor's prison. So, one of the ideas of having a tithe brought into the Christian church was to have a fund specifically to help Christians that ended up in hard times, not because of their fault, but because of some unforeseen circumstance, stay out of debtor's prison. That's what the church was supposed to do. It's supposed to help people with unforeseen circumstances stay out of debtor's prison. That was the idea. Unfortunately, the modern day Christian church, and we're not talking about all Christian churches here, we're talking about these fake phony ones. You see them, they're ultra modern, they don't really teach about God, they play at the Christian game, but they don't really do what they're supposed to do. They don't have enough funds to keep their brothers and sisters out of debtor's prison. The United States is modeled in many respects from the Roman Empire. So, having said that, I can say that there are being prisons built right now that one day will open up and will accommodate heavy debtors. Okay? So, Christians don't normally condone slavery. However, if a person deliberately gets into debt and does nothing to get themselves out of debt, then we as Christians have no sympathy when they get drug into debtor's prison. That's something we do condone. You're going to be dumb enough to get in that kind of debt, you pay the consequences. Now, if a Christian gets into an unfortunate circumstance and is facing debtor's prison, then the church is supposed to activate and try to pay off that debt, which then the person would owe the church instead of the debtor's prison, and thus the Christian would stay out of the debtor's prison. That's the way it's supposed to work. Hopefully I have cleared all this up. Okay? God is supposed to provide for all your needs. And unless you're sinning, it usually happens that way. Okay? Now, God may put you through a test once in a while, but in the end, God will provide for all your needs. Not your greeds, your needs. Okay? If He can provide a coin from a fish to pay a Roman tax, He can certainly provide for you. Right? Now, God may put you in a test with unforeseen circumstances, which at that point the church is to activate. They're to pray to God, then they're to take their resources and try to keep you out of debtor's prison. That's the way it's supposed to work. Alright, but if you're dumb enough to rack up a whole bunch of debt deliberately, when you face debtor's prison and you get enslaved, we're not going to bail you out. That's not our job. Okay? So that's the biblical teaching about condoning debt slavery in the Bible. When one gets into debt deliberately and then has to face slavery because of it, Christians like us have no sympathy for that. Nobody else will, neither do we, and neither does God. And that is condoned in the Bible. Okay, hopefully you guys understand what I've been saying. If you don't, leave a comment down below. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.